Cool.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Comics Remixed episode 12.2, the special Comics Through the Ages episode. I'm Junior alongside David and our two special guests today.
Doug Jennings.
David Chimelli.
Yep, so Dave, Doug, Dave, and Junior.
Actually, technically, David.
Well,
you go with David or Dave?
Well, did you? David.
Okay, so yeah, it's actually David.
Did
Doug.
you catch what I called you when we came in?
No.
I called you Tocayo. You ever heard that?
I heard that.
It's a Mexican term.
Like,
it's
not shithead or anything like that.
No, I can tell you that one though.
I'm sure you could.
But it's actually
those
kind of like a ranch
comics.
Thing.
Okay.
What Tocayo means it's like
Tocayo?
Tocayo. It's like
Tocayo?
it's two guys with the same name basically.
Okay.
It's like an endearment thing. Like it's like saying bro, but we're like
Cool.
since we're both there, we're Tocayo.
Tocayo, I like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's
calling
interesting.
you
That's
now.
interesting. That's really
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Y'all learned something.
You remember Animaniacs?
Which one?
The cartoon itself.
Okay, well, yeah, it was.
Okay, you remember how they used to do those segments where like, welcome to another useless fact.
There you go.
That was
we
one
need
of
that.
No, God.
You cannot use that unless you're like in a ranch in Mexico. You can't communicate with this other guy. You're trying to get directions. We're like, oh,
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
Like David, what David?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No,
But,
David.
Okay.
No, David. No, David.
Pretty much. Alright, let's get this rolling. First episode we covered very briefly the Victorian, the Platinum, and then we covered the Golden Age. And boy did we cover it. Well, this episode we're going to go into the Silver Age, and if we have time we'll do the Bronze Age. If not, hey, that's next episode. But what I just want to point out real quick, as I was doing my research, I noticed, and I said in the first episode, the Golden Age was from 1938 to 1950. The next age was the Silver Age, which was 1956 to 1970. So what the hell is 1951 through 1955?
Like pewter.
Yeah.
That's the abyss.
You know, was that like a non-publishing?
Well, I think I don't know for sure because I have to, but I do know that there was that time when comics got a bad name.
yeah, that's when
based on
Dr.
that,
Frederick
Wortham
Mhm.
guy
Right.
wrote The Seduction of the Innocents,
Yes.
and was saying how the comics are they lead to juvenile delinquency and perversion and all that. So
that might have been during that time.
that could have been
because I know it was right before Marvel exploded with the whole
Right.
superhero. So
Right.
yeah, I'm thinking.
So that
could've
could have
been
been.
that age.
Now, we a lot of times, when I think of Silver Age, I think of Marvel because that's when the Spider-Man was created and all that. But actually, DC was going through a revitalized time too, because that's when they came up with the modern Flash, and the modern Green Lantern, and some of the newer characters like that. And so that was they were going through a Silver Age too, even though Marvel, is maybe had more going on. With them.
And another thing with Marvel in the Silver Age, a lot of people. The Silver Age, to me personally, did not kick off till 1961. And that was the introduction of the Fantastic Four. Because that's when you think Silver Age, like he said, the first thing that comes to mind is usually Marvel. You don't think DC for Silver Age. You think DC for Golden Age. And one of the things that I found really, really interesting was how Marvel's heroes' origins were mostly not science fiction, but science-based. Pure science. Whereas opposed to DC was mostly, they were magical or alien or something like this. So it was different. And it was the Atomic Age also when they were created. Holding the gamma bomb and the FF, the cosmic rays, Spider-Man, the radioactive spider, and so on and so on. But I think the Golden Age, yes, started the superhero trend, but it wasn't until Marvel and the Silver Age that people really stopped and took notice and said, hey, this is something. This is not just another trend. This is not a fad. Superheroes look like they're here to stay. And like we pointed out, like you pointed out, Marvel, real cities as opposed to DC, fake cities for some. I mean, there have been times where they said, yeah, we're going to New York. Why is Batman in New York? It belongs in Gotham. Where the hell's Gotham? It's in the corner over there. But Marvel, being the pioneers that they were, and not knowing it, I should say Stan Lee, not even Marvel, because at the time Marvel was Stan Lee. It was Steve Ditko. It was
Kirby.
It was Kirby.
Like Kirby was the original artist.
Which
Marvel
I was gonna say.
before Stanley got there.
I was
Exactly.
actually going to say a
It
lot
was
of the
Kirby.
science stuff.
Right,
Well, no,
the
no.
monster.
Well, no. Stan Lee was there. Stanley was it, but remember, Stanley was working in the offices. He wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't the writer.
He was the PA of that
He was
time.
everything. He was.
Nice.
production
He was the
artist.
yeah.
Nice.
He was everything down there. I'm gonna go get you a cup of coffee, Mr.
Right.
Kirby. You know that was.
Yeah,
that
he was
Stan.
the PA.
But, he was a bitch. Just say it.
Well, you know,
Oh.
I think of Stan Lee as being the ultimate.
All right,
company
but you
man.
gotta tell him that.
I said was. I said was.
I think
I
of
just feel
Stan
being a
Lee,
bitch.
you know,
Everybody-
especially as you read as you read his autobiography. If you read that, you find out he got to work. He went to work for Timely Comics because a relative worked there.
And for
Yeah,
those
it
that
was
don't
a-
know, Timely was Marvel before
Yeah,
it
Marvel
became
was
Marvel.
Timely. Before it was Marvel, it was Timely Comics. And a relative, one of his relatives was there, and he went to work there as a young guy. And but he stayed there the whole time, you know, for all those many
Mhm.
years. And when I think of Stan Lee, I think of he's like the ultimate company man. I mean, he's like, you know, was with the company, came up through the ranks, stayed with the company, created for the company.
Well, the same could be said for Jordan.
Yeah, maybe. so.
Well, no, I take that back because after his fourth retirement, he joined the Wizards, or the
Yeah.
Bullets, whatever the hell you want to call
He
them.
played baseball.
But so
At
anyway,
least it was for the Sox, not those scrubs.
but that's you know.
Sorry,
with-
scrub fans.
with the Marvel deal, you know, it's really interesting how he kind of he had been there for a long time before he started doing the really innovative stuff we think of him for.
Yeah.
You know, before he started creating for Spider-Man. It's really interesting. The story of Marvel Comics is really fascinating,
It is.
and how, you know, he was doing these kind of like just quick buck, you know, monster sci-fi, you know, and strange tales type of things. And then all of a sudden he decided to just do something crazy and do a Spider-Man character.
Mhm.
And then it all just like,
And we all know how that came about, right? The whole Spider-Man thing. You guys know, right? I'm not talking newbies here.
You get a share?
I'm making sure you guys know.
Yeah,
don't
tell-
know.
you
You
know.
sure?
Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here. I hope.
Say it.
We all know, you know, Amazing Adult Fantasy got retitled Amazing Fantasy at issue 15. It was getting canceled. Stan wanted to do the Spider-Man. His editor told him, no, nobody's going to like a superhero that's modeled after spiders. Spiders are creepy. Nobody likes spiders. So finally, when they found out AF was getting canceled, Stan just went ahead and threw it in the book. Who cares? The book's going to get canceled. Lo and behold, the numbers came back months later. Spider-Man was a hit. Then in September 1963, Amazing Spider-Man #1 hit the stands.
1962, I think.
3. 62 was fantasy.
That's when he probably debuted in fantasy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then it's like that actually opened up the floodgates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know, it's just so funny that here he was. This is like a life lesson here. He had nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
His wife said, "Just do whatever you want to do. You know, just go, have fun." He decided to just take a risk, have fun, and here's what happened. A whole
Now we're
industry.
sitting in a store.
Now we're sitting in a comic book store that was, you know, pretty much a result of that whole explosion,
Yeah.
like the Big Bang.
And it was more like, you know, the editor came back, hey, Spider-Man was a smash, what else you got? You know, what else can you think of? The Hulk came, the X-Men,
Thor,
Avengers.
Thor, the Avengers, all of them.
Iron Man, all these guys.
Stanley didn't create Iron Man, though.
I thought I can't remember his involvement, but he was involved somehow.
Somehow.
He was
I
writing
don't
it,
think
I
he was
think.
the initial creator. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
No, because he was sharing the issue with Captain America.
Tales of Suspense.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain that Stanley had both.
I mean, I know he did some writing with it.
I
so
thought.
I might be wrong. I
If
might
you
be
look at-
thinking, you know what? Yeah, I am wrong. I'm sorry, I admit that. I'm thinking Iron Man 1 because I know Stanley didn't write the actual Iron Man book. I know that much. Was Gil Kane drew it, I believe.
Mhm.
I don't remember the writer, but it wasn't Stan. But yeah,
But yeah, it's he had. I mean,
curses. This is getting edited out.
yeah. Well, you can bet that if Marvel was doing it in the '60s, publishing it, Stan Lee had a direct hand because
Yeah.
he was the only full-time
Yeah.
like guy.
He was the only employee.
He was the.
most
I mean,
part.
yeah, he was the main
He was
guy.
director, right? He was the creative director.
Yeah, he was just
all
like
him.
doing everything pretty much. I mean, as far as anything to do with writing and choosing things, you know, he was the main guy. So, and that's, you know, he was. They freelance. Everybody else was doing freelance. I don't know if they had any artists actually working for them. I'm pretty sure everybody was freelance.
Yeah, I think everything was working.
But he was not freelance. He was a company man. You know, he was the only guy there who's calling the shots because they had to have somebody. you know. But that's awesome. That's why I recommend if you really want to look at the comics history, also look at the business side of the comics history. You know, just so you know, because all these things, all the things that we see as the creative, colorful, you know, fantasy and science fiction type of things came out of this context where these businesses were going, okay, what do we do now? And, you know, let's do this and let's try this like this. And it was all part of, like, you know, the backstory, the stuff you don't, you know, the nuts and bolts.
In fact, wasn't for a while, wasn't DC printing Marvel's comic books?
I did hear that rumor.
That
I
is
saw-
possible because even here in Chicago, anyways, the Tribune actually publishes this sometimes.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I saw
did
in
hear
the
that.
biography of Stan that because they were down to a skeleton crew, that Stan was like the only employee.
It was
Right.
cheaper because they didn't
And
have
that-
to pay for production crew; they just had to pay for
Right, and DC was so strong in the marketplace that they were cranking out all their
Yeah.
issues. I thought that's what.
That's probably
until they
right.
had their own production.
That's probably right.
Going.
And which is, to me,
DC's
it's
kicking
fascinating.
themselves
Yeah.
right now.
Right, did you actually go to?
DC's
Yeah.
kicking
Well,
themselves.
they're still neighbors, right? They're still
Yeah, I think their offices are like right down the street from each other.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
So
Yeah,
this
DC's
is one
not
of those
in
healthy
Metropolis?
competitions.
Yeah, DC's in Metropolis.
And what the hell? Why would you have a? Why would you put your headquarters in a real
Well,
city?
If
Why
you
put a
guys,
fictional
you guys
city?
remember the great days of Wizard magazine?
Yeah.
Whenever they would publish the pranks that they would pull on each other.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys remember those? Where
Yeah.
they like go and like silly string their offices and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's all healthy competition.
Yeah, it's
good.
It's
all
kind of
fun.
like what they say DC stands for, you know, the distinguished competition.
But
I
you
like
got
that.
also the artists going back and forth. you know.
Yeah.
Writers
But
and
then,
artists going back.
what was it? Early 2000s when they, you know, they came out and they says, you know what? No, here's the introduction of what we call exclusive contracts. You're not going anywhere for X amount of years, you know. But it goes, it all, everything that's in comics now. I mean, yes, you can put it back to the golden age, but I personally, Silver Age, because I think Silver Age is what started, especially the competition. You know, because yeah, DC was doing their thing with Superman and the whatnot, but it was just them. You know, when
Well,
Marvel came
the
along.
big innovation that Marvel did that I think that you have to look at, and this is something that's another fun thing to look at the history of comics. Marvel's huge innovation, besides the characters being very creative, you know, having their imperfections
Is
and all
it the
that,
mutant might be flawed?
no, the huge innovation was the fan base. Stan Lee he would go after the fans. You know, the mighty Marvel fandom. You know, he'd just do all these fun things in the comics.
Mighty Marvel Marching Band.
Right, he would do all these little things that would just make it. And see, this was, you know, the Silver Age comics were comics for another generation. You know, the people who read the Golden Age comics were like the, you know, World War II vets and the people who lived during the Great Depression. The people who you know got the Silver Age stuff was their kids and grandkids. And there was it was like college age kids, you know, kids who were like into the Revolution type of thing in the '60s. But Stan Lee, he just had a knack for making it just like this club.
Yeah, and he tried to personalize. He said in his
Yeah.
autobiography, he tried to personalize the artist by saying things like, well, on their names, he'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, Smiling
and-
Stan Lee.
Jazz and John Romita.
Yeah. I mean, that type of thing. No one was doing
And,
that.
and wasn't he also the first to put on the cover dialogue, like actual
Yes.
balloons,
The word
where
balloons.
people are? Because before, I don't think there was there before.
No.
Right.
It was just it was all
Yeah,
art.
I believe that. I
Then
believe
you
that.
have all the
Stan's Soapbox, which was
Yeah.
the first time that editors kind of made their voices heard through the
yeah,
comics
Levis
themselves.
the editor too. Wasn't he the first to do that?
I don't know if he was first to do that.
No,
but
it wasn't it
he-
Mark
Comics.
Goodman?
But I don't know.
But for comic books, I thought he was the first.
I'm not sure. But even if there had been someone doing that, he did it. He took it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, with his no prize. Do you know what the no prize is? You know, if anyone found a mistake, because he was always getting letters. Oh, you know, in this issue you had, you know, Wasp was wearing this one hat, and then the next panel she wasn't, and it was a it's a mistake. And he would say, "Oh, you've won the no prize for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear reader." And you know, he just
And there'd be times where they actually sent these no prizes out, and all it was an empty envelope
just
with
Oh, funny.
the reader's
Okay.
address or whatever, and from Marvel Comics. And at times, if you opened it, it was just a letter that said, "Hey, you won the no prize.
Right.
Congratulations!" And that's all it
But
was.
see, that type of thing just makes people just love the comics. You know.
It was very interactive.
So
with
yeah,
the
I mean,
audience.
that's the big thing that he did that changed comics.
Yeah, he became the brand.
And I
Yeah,
guess that
he
kind
was
of
Marvel.
that stemmed
Yeah.
from him
He
was,
was
making the characters, you know, as relatable to society as possible. You know,
Yeah.
Spider-Man being the teenager that anybody could be under the mask. The X-Men being outcast because they were born different, which in terms, I mean, nowadays you look at it, different racism. You know, everybody hated mutants.
Right.
They
And
go
even the
to-
Fantastic Four, you know, they weren't these like, you know, this band of you know, everybody get along and we're all just a fight for together.
They were
for,
family.
They were family, and they
Yeah.
also bickered, you know.
Yeah.
You got to put the comic books in the context of history, like you're saying. Everything was atomic because that was the preoccupation of people. So all these powers came out of a result of some type of atomic or nuclear.
And a small note, I know we mentioned it on the first episode when you guys were saying the print and the color and everything being the printer, and how I threw in the Hulk thing. Now we all know the Hulk was supposed to be gray.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He was originally green. He wasn't originally.
The only
green.
color that
But the color
was
exactly.
gray
The
was all he
printer
had.
printed it in gray. So the first 6 issues of Incredible Hulk was gray. Then they
So
canceled
they
it.
did the colors right. Yeah.
Right, and then from issue 7 on, it was Tales to Astonish, I believe, until they got to issue 100. And then 101, it became Incredible Hulk again. But by the time Tales to Astonish came out and Hulk returned in there, he was green. Jolly Green Giant. Well, not so jolly, but... I just wanted to throw that in. So for those who didn't know, the first 6 issues wondering why Hulk is gray, he first appeared gray. It was meant to be green, so blame the printer. Stand it. But then, I mean, it was cool because now look at Hulk. You got like rainbow-colored Hulk. You know, he's out there. That came out wrong.
So
came out
yeah, he's
out
the
there?
He's
most
just in
popular,
a
the
few
rainbow
colors.
these
Wow.
days. That's great.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you got the red Hulk, you got the green Hulk, you got the gray Hulk. You know, I'm sure
That's
I'm missing a
that
third
would be
one.
Shit.
That would be a great parody. Just
Yeah.
just do a comic, the Rainbow Hulk, because there's the Green Hulk, the Red Hulk, the Gray Hulk. Man, that would just go. That would be so funny. Anyway.
They should just parody the Lantern.
Yeah.
Although the Red Lantern.
Yeah, they've already done that with them, you know.
But for them,
just
it
get
wasn't
like
a
an
parody,
orange Hulk,
which is the sad part. Well, actually, no, it's actually funny because it wasn't a parody.
Yeah, that was a
You know?
parody, but this would be the Rainbow Hulk. You could imagine all the kinds of fun you could have with that.
It's like a bag of Skittles Hulk, you know. But yeah, the Silver Age did
Picks out all the
from
green
not
ones.
only just producing these.
Self-conscious.
What's that?
He picks out all the green ones because he's self-conscious.
But the Silver Age not only produced these great characters and started what was a small rivalry back then between Marvel and DC,
Yeah.
but like I said, the Silver Age lasted until 1970. So that gave us some great stories. A couple of standouts. I know you were a big fan of FF50. You know, that's for those who don't know, FF48, 49, and 50,
Fantastic
the
Four,
Galactus trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, the introduction of Silver Surfer, the introduction of Galactus, you know, and Fantastic Four almost crapping themselves.
You still got yours?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
When I
Oh,
see
man.
Stan Lee, he's signing that.
Oh
You know,
man.
and then 2 issues later, the Black Panther first appeared in
Yeah.
issue 52.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean it's awesome
The
stuff.
Holy Grail.
What
But I mean,
year did that
yeah.
come out? The Fantastic Four 50.
50 would have been.
What year was that?
I
Was that
wanna
Let's see,
say
it came
it's
out.
like
So it came out in '62, the first
61.
issue, or '61.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The end of
So we're
61.
talking what, 4 years later, probably.
Yeah.
I want to say
See, what's
65,
really
66.
very cool is
That's
that.
when Kirby's art I thought was
Oh
the best.
yeah, you're right.
That was when
That's
it was crap in the beginning. I
Right.
thought he was.
But you know who was the? You know,
I
I
loved his
think.
art during that time.
You know
You
who
know
was
who it
inking
reminded-
him? You know who's inking him?
No.
Joe Sinnott.
Oh sure, yeah.
That's
And
like-
he was a.
He
He
knew how to
was.
ink. He knew how to ink his stuff where the colors were vibrant.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
if you look at that he made. Yeah,
Now, did
he's the one who
did
saw.
he draw later? Did he draw Fantastic Four later on?
He did a lot of stuff for a lot of years.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. He was in the industry for a long time.
Okay.
So he did.
But yeah, that was the peak of Kirby's art.
Yeah.
I think.
Another big Fantastic Four story was, I don't know if you had it, I personally have it, and I think I have it. I can't remember if it's issue 51 or 52. I want to say it's 51. The cover with Thing, this man, this monster.
I have that one. Is he got a thing around his neck? He's got some kind
Yeah,
of
he's just doing one-
shackle.
he's just doing one.
and his-
You had the
oh, yeah.
original comic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got two of them.
I got that one
I got
myself.
two of
I
them.
got that one
And the
myself.
colors on the thing are real bright orange.
Yeah. See,
fabulous.
you know, I was
the
gonna-
background
I was
is
gonna
so
say,
gray and so
Yeah.
gloomy.
What was very
You know?
cool in the 70s, after these comics came out originally, in the 70s they reprinted them. You know, they reprinted them, and that's
Yeah.
how I found out about them.
Right.
Is because I was reading them in the I was in the high school, junior high school in the 70s, and I never saw the original, the 60s version of it, or
Oh,
the
wow,
60s
really?
printing of it.
Okay.
But they were reprinting them.
Right.
And so that's so that's why I'm kind of confused about when they came out, because to me they came out in the 70s, because they would reprint them in these volumes, they just which is a good idea. They were publishers. So it was awesome, and I was just like just totally blown
Yeah.
away.
Stan kind of knew how to make his books sort of a soap opera, but not a preachy soap opera.
Right.
You know, because if X-Men 12 or 13, can't remember. You might help me out with this. First appearance of Juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here's this guy, this unstoppable force. You know, how the X-Men gonna defeat this guy? Oh, you want a twist to the story? He's Xavier's brother. You know, you didn't have things like that. You know, this was all fresh. This was all new. This was all great. This is what hooked the readers in.
Well,
Spider-Man.
look at the relationship between Submariner and Sue Richards.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about
that's soap opera
you
stuff.
put soap opera
Yeah.
into it, and that's what's
That's
amazing.
like the triangle there, love triangle type
Yeah.
of thing going on. That was like,
Weird.
whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weird. Right.
Fish guy or stretchy guy? Who do I go with? One smells like rubber, one smells like fish. You know?
Stretchy guy.
I'll tell you.
Oh,
And then,
man.
like, me personally, I grew up, my favorite two heroes are Batman and Spider-Man. And when I grew up on Spider-Man, it was just entering the McFarlane era. You know,
Okay.
but that's getting ahead. But I think
You a
Spider-Man,
fan of
especially
McFarlane or no?
some of his stuff, his older stuff. Nowadays, his figures are alright. But anyway, Spider-Man, in my opinion, had one of the most colorful rogues galleries. I think Stan saved all his best ideas for Spider-Man. He's like, all right, the X-Men had these guys, they're pretty cool. The FF had these villains, they're pretty cool. You know, the Avengers had these guys. Spider-Man's got this.
Got the best.
Spider-Man's got that. You know, and every issue was just, oh God, Dr. Octopus is back. Oh, Kraven is back. Oh, the Vulture. You know, and it's not like one of those books where you read it and you're like, oh, this guy again. Every time the villain appeared, no matter how many times you read the
Doc Ock
story,
is dating Aunt May. Oh my
Oh,
God!
Man,
remember
oh gosh,
No.
the travesty. That was outrage.
Desperate.
that wasn't a Stan
was-
Lee story though.
That was creepy.
But still, that was one of the.
No, it was.
That
And I think it was
insane.
just pretty funny because he didn't have this huge world. I want to take over the world motive for doing it. It was, I heard that there was a buried, you know, some treasure that a mobster hid in May's house. So I'm gonna marry her, get close to the broad, so I can find this treasure.
Oh man, that's
You
like
know?
that was all kinds of psychodrama there going on.
Yeah.
Man.
But you're right. If you look at all the villains for each one of the main characters, Spider-Man does have the best.
Yeah.
I mean, like Iron Man, really, we're
I,
pretty lame.
I don't even know.
Daredevil,
I,
Whiplash.
I can't even know. I don't
Yeah.
even know their characters. You know, if you ask, like when I was watching the first Iron Man
Iron
movie,
Man felt forced, like his Rose guy.
Yeah.
That's one that felt really, really.
I-
The thing that
Yeah.
irritated a lot of his villains also had armor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's like saying every Superman villain has to be on
I
Superman's
think now what
power
they're trying
level.
to do, just to like skip to now, I think now they're trying to tie him into like elemental bad
Mhm.
guys somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who
Okay.
Superman or
No,
Iron Man.
Iron Man's bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, he always had Blizzard.
Yeah, but it's like Blizzard or Whirlwind. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were all elemental, but like
Yeah,
now,
that's interesting.
now they're
That's-
finally kind of like roping them in.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah, like you'd sit here. I could name maybe about 10 villains for every one of those heroes we named. But with Spider-Man, you can keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
And they're all good.
They are
all
good.
good.
They are
though.
good. They are good.
and they are.
They're,
and
they're
they're all
primal.
just
I mean, you know, they're like
Yeah.
like Rhino and like
Exactly.
you know, Vulture
All
and like
natural
all these
predators
guys.
of the
Although
Superman,
I'm partial to Doctor Doom.
And-
though. Still,
Doctor Who?
Doctor Doom.
Doctor
Oh,
Doom.
Doctor
still
Doom. Oh
is.
yeah, Doctor Doom. Yeah.
He is the #1 bad
Well, Doctor
guy.
Doom.
in
Yeah,
my-
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But it's like the one thing too that Marvel did do that I noticed DC didn't do. Yes, Marvel's characters were all flawed. They're, especially their heroes. You know, it made the fans relate to them. But so were the villains. Most of the villains didn't have that. I just want to be a villain to take over the world. There
Right.
was always something tragic
Right.
that happened to
You're
turn
absolutely
these
right.
guys into people who wanted to take over the world. Who, you know, and they didn't want to hurt the hero. They didn't want to fight the
Right.
hero. They just wanted to do what they did, and they were just trying to get him out of the way.
Yeah, I think
You
that's
know?
the one thing. That was another innovation, you know, because his villains were not cardboard villains. They were like they're multidimensional. I mean, they were not, like you said, they had tragedy in their lives. Or they're, you know, it was more than just, you know, like Lex Luthor losing his hair when he was a kid, and then he's blaming Superman. It was
I'm bald, damn you.
It was more like it was actually usually a lot of times the villain had some independent, you know, history and then a lot of villains became heroes,
Mhm.
you know, and which has really never happened before. You know, that's another innovation that.
And I think Marvel was also one of the
Marvel-
first ones to have a hero or a villain, hero and a villain team up to
Mhm.
defeat a common enemy.
Yeah.
Which really didn't happen. You know, it was you're strictly a hero, you're strictly a villain. That's it. But like I said, Marvel being the real universe, having their characters flawed, opened the door for a lot more realistic situations.
Submariner really played that role.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He
You
was
never
exactly-
knew
very
really
fine
why he
line.
was a hero.
Exactly, you're right. Exactly
And-
right. That's an
and-
example.
Yeah.
He had the right to be, dude.
But sometimes he was an a-hole who was on the other
He's
good side.
Yeah.
Look how much of the
He's a
look how much of the world
Right.
he technically rules over.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
how much of the world is actually water? What percentage was like 70% of the world?
72%.
Yeah. So I mean, he had the right to be a cocky a-hole. You know, it's like I got wings in my feet. What are you
Main
gonna
thing
do
I
about it?
really hate,
You know?
today's Submariner Namor. I think
He's just very arrogant. He's
Yeah,
more
I
like.
I think it's very watered
I decided that I want to be an X-Man now,
Yeah,
so now
him
I'm an
and
X-Man.
Neo.
You
Yeah,
know?
what's up
all
with
watered
that? Come
down.
on.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
It's really-
I have to tell you, now it's funny, because I don't want to, cut anyone down, but I don't read Marvel anymore.
Get out.
I don't. I mean,
You're
I...
done.
All right. I gotta say, I gotta give you a fist bump on that one too.
No, all I'm saying
You're a
is...
damn liar, because I pull both. Well, I pull your
Yeah, I know,
books.
but
you
you know what?
But I pull your books.
But I
know what you read.
Up until 2 years ago, I never bought a DC comic book. Never. I now buy more DC comics than I buy Marvel.
I give you that.
Because
Yeah.
I think Marvel
all
sucks.
I'm saying
I
is,
think
all
Marvel
I'm
sucks.
saying is that when I look at what's going on in Marvel, I've been away for so long. I was kind of like took a break from comics for a while, and when I look at Marvel, I'm just going, I don't know, I just can't get into it. But it looks like I just can't get into the new Marvel sensibility as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just how which is kind of crazy because
started off-
we're talking. I mean, I love Marvel. I mean, I love what they've done in the industry, and we're talking about how great they were. But these days, but you know what? They got great writers. I love all the writers, but I just haven't been able to get into it yet. So.
Yeah, some good
I'm
artists.
a up in the air fan because I started off with Marvel. Junior introduced me with Spider-Man. Got really into the X-Men. Fell in love with Generation X, all that stuff. Image came out, I was like, oh, these motherfuckers are
Yeah,
hardcore. I bought like everything Image.
Oh yeah.
Liefeld gonna be like, I took a dump on this comic book cover. If you want to buy it, yeah. Be like, yeah, you want to sign it for me?
Yeah, totally. Actually, I was.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
totally like that.
He was a huge Liefeld fan.
And then I just flip-flopped between Image and DC until I took my break too. And then what got me back was DC's Crisis. I was like, wow, this
Which
is
one?
well, when it started off, and I just really just fell in love with that kind of storytelling.
Let me stop you there though, because we're going way too far ahead.
We're kind of closing in.
That's like more modern than Silver.
But we've said a
Yeah.
lot of stuff about the Silver Age, which we're kind of
which
closing.
basically was ruled by Stan Lee with an iron fist.
Pretty much.
It was his
But-
Brian.
It was
I remember
fun.
seeing a joke
He was
in
having
a
a great
comic.
time. You could tell he was having so much fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't
He
like
was
he was
getting
being
paid
Mr. Like, oh,
No, I didn't mean it that way. But
but-
it was just all.
It
like,
was all
man,
him.
this
Yeah,
It was
I
all
remember.
him.
I remember a book. I think it was one of those parody books, the Wahans or What the books,
Yeah.
where they finally revealed the actual face of Doctor Doom.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was Stan Lee under the mask.
Yeah,
That
okay.
was great.
That's
But we're gonna end this one the way we ended the first one. Quick recap. What do you think Silver Age? What does it mean to you?
Oh man, mutants. I always connect to that. To me, that's actually one of Stan Lee's greatest adventures because it's like, why do you have to create a situation to create a superhero? Why can't he just be born with it? And so that introduced that brings it back. That kind of is like science because now you're talking about evolution and
Yeah.
a lot of these like second evolutions where people they just come up with this second tier of powers and so on and so forth. It justifies a lot of these villains wanting to rule the world because we're superior and stuff like that.
Yep.
So
Go on, Dave.
I would say Pork and Beans Hulk. The Pork and
I
Beans
even
Hulk.
thought of this.
No. You're ahead of yourself, dude. That's the next age. Pork and Beans Hulk.
Oh, you're
Peter
right.
David was writing them.
You're right.
Oh.
You're off an age.
So,
Okay.
whatever.
Back up some. Back up
We'll
some.
give you another chance.
Wait, give him time to
Do over.
reflect.
Do over. Yeah.
I gotta
We'll
think
come
now.
back to you.
Yeah.
I gotta think now here.
I don't know. When I think of Silver Age, I think of innovation and coolness. It just was cool. It was just the stuff they were doing was just so cool. And at the time, and like the Fantastic Four was cool. I'm talking about the stories I read. Spider-Man was cool, even though he was kind of supposed to be a nerd, but just that concept.
Mm-hmm.
All this, it was just so much cooler and it was just innovation and coolness.
We'll go
Mine
back
will
to
be
you.
on as a tech off. It's over the top.
Yeah.
To me, Kirby, I think of Kirby as being the artist for that era. I know he
Yeah.
didn't draw everybody's, but
Right.
when I think about his artwork, was over the top.
Yeah.
It was big. He loved drawing those big machines. He loved
And
all
he
these
was
energy bolts.
he was
and-
at his best at that time.
Oh yeah, and it
Yeah.
was colorful, like you said.
Yeah.
He was
And it
one
was
of
over
the
the top.
first to really showcase scale in a comic.
Yeah, to show huge
You know?
machines
Oh, man.
and
Yeah.
And it had like the hero being yay big.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
and to be in a big world or big,
Yeah.
everything about it was just over the top.
Yeah.
It was colorful. It was innovative, and you never saw this stuff before.
Right.
Huge.
So that's what you take away from the Silver Age.
Absolutely.
And you said yours. You said yours.
Okay.
Mine is competition because
Yeah.
if not for the Silver Age
Yeah.
and Marvel being born, so to speak,
Yep. You're right.
who knows where the comic,
You're absolutely right.
I don't know the rest of these comics.
exactly. If we'd be here sitting today, you know, who knows if DC would have monopolized everything and they would have came out with creations close to Marvel, you know, if they would have been the only game in town, if because of no competition they got stale, and with Marvel not making their heroes flawed, you know, more of somebody we can relate to, you know, and being as super as they were, so to speak, they might have, you know, fanned out and then like we might not have an
That's
industry.
right. Because of the way things were, DC could have been like, well, we're already printing their stuff. Just write up a contract and say we could put
Pretty
them out
much.
of misery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
All right.
we get that Stan Lee guy. We're always hearing about him.
Pretty much. I hear he's big news. But
You really like spiders.
Comics Remix 12.2. Junior, David, Dave, Doug. We'll see you next
No,
time.
David.
Oh my God, dude! I'm just
David,
gonna start
David,
calling
Doug.
you snotty lawyer
I
guy.
know you kind of pointed at your crotch when you said that, so I don't know.
You said David,
Wait,
David.
hold on.
David.
Is that what it's called?
Fine, David. That's not to offend anybody. Do you want me? Is
Douglas.
Douglas? Would you like me to
No,
say
Doug's
your full
fine,
name?
Doug's
Doug Lock.
Oh yeah,
Doug Lock.
Doug Lock sucked though. I mean, don't.
I know you
Because
don't.
he was
suck,
never
no.
used to his full potential.
Once again, modern age. We'll see you next episode.
Check my timeline. I got him on there.
See you guys later.
All right.